In this guide, we'll be focusing on game basics and the various classes that you can play as in Immortal Redneck. So how do the pyramids work? Well, there's 3 of them, they increase in difficulty, and they each have 7 floors. These floors decrease in size, i.e. the number of rooms, the higher up that you go into the pyramid. The rooms on each floor range from rooms of enemies that you have to kill, these are the standard most common rooms you'll encounter, chest rooms, which award you between 1 and 3 chests for free, and challenge rooms. These can be timed challenges, pacifism challenges, or challenges where you aren't allowed to get hurt, rewarding you with 1 or more chests. As you might expect, the challenge and chest rooms are much rarer, with approximately 2 to 3 on the first floor, decreasing to about 1 on level 6. These floors are each protected by a myriad of enemies that can spawn in different combinations in different rooms. As you progress further into the pyramid, each floor will increase the health and damage of enemies, as well as the gold drops and the chance for item drops. The 3 pyramids effectively act as continuations of one another, so the health, damage, item drop, and gold drop of the second pyramid starts at above the level of the first one. Each pyramid is also gated by 2 bosses. These bosses always appear on the floors 3 and 7. On floor 3, the mid-pyramid boss room will be the only room that you can progress up through the pyramid from. The final boss of the pyramid will always appear by itself on floor 7. You will spawn into a room containing 2 chests, which will give you 2 health and 2 ammo drops before allowing you to attempt the final boss by walking through a door. Next, let's take a look at the classes. So there's 9 classes in total: Redneck, Apis, Seth, Sekhmet, Anuket, Neith, Amit, Hathor, and Thoth. These classes each start with different weapons, they each have different base stats, and each class also has both a passive and an active ability, one of which can be upgraded. To preface this, the classes have different styles of play, so they suit different people more or less than others. Personally, I love to move fast, jump a lot, and hit hard. This colors my opinions of some of the classes in a way that somebody else might not. Without further ado, let's jump right into the intricacies of each one. So first of all, each class has different stats, and each of them can be upgraded in the skill tree. The numbers given here are with a completed skill tree. Additionally, every class, unless mentioned, has a 30% crit chance and a 260% crit damage at full upgrade, unless specifically stated. Redneck. So Redneck's the base class. He starts out with 575 base health, 255 damage, 112 move speed, and 44% defense, which is a percentage damage mitigation. He has a passive which increases the amount of ammo that he gets from drops, thus he doesn't need to worry as much about running dry. His active ability increases his rate of fire. These synergize well together to make him a bit of a bullet hose character with the correct weapons. His base weapons are the pistol, a medium damage hit scan pistol with 12 shots in the mag, the shotgun, a high damage shotty with 5 shots, and dynamite, a high damage thrown explosive weapon. Redneck is a very solid class in general. His weapon set is effective at a number of ranges and gives him good tools with which to approach any enemy in the game as well as most of the bosses. Apis. So this guy is the slow lumbering tank with heavy firepower. He starts out with 650 base health, 360 damage, 87 move speed, and 44% defense. He has a passive which limits him to only having 1 jump, but allows him to carry 4 different weapons. His active ability is an invincibility with a long cooldown. His weapons are the machine pistol with a high rate of fire, manageable bloom, and very good first shot accuracy, 30 round mag, and is overall an awesome weapon. The minigun with a long spool up time, low accuracy, very high rate of fire, bottomless mag, it pushes you back while firing, which can be somewhat interesting when it comes to movement, and low damage. The grenade launcher with a 3 round mag, long reload, grenades that bounce and explode on direct impact with enemies, high damage. Finally, the rusty revolver, a high damage, large spread, 6-shot mag with a middling reload speed, and I'm very much not a fan of this one. Overall, Apis is a big, tanky, slow character. I'm not much of a fan of him due to the slow playstyle, but he has a good number of tools at his fingertips and can approach bosses quite confidently. Up next we've got Seth. Seth is a crowd-clearing DPS monster. I started out as not much of a fan of this class, but I've turned a 360 on that, and now I think he's easily one of the best classes in the game. Yes, 360 and moonwalk out of there. He starts out with 468 base health, 306 damage, 112 move speed, and 27% defense. He has a passive which causes any enemy that hits him to take damage. Realistically, this passive is pretty bad in a game like this, as you never want to take damage. It's never a worthy trade. His active ability is an expanding lightning bubble that deals damage both on its path out of you and on its path back in. This ability is great at clearing crowds, and can allow a fully decked out Seth to instantly clear many rooms. His weapons are the Tesla Coil, a perfect accuracy, hit scan, chain lightning beam gun with medium damage. This thing is incredible. The Electric Flamethrower, a bottomless mag weapon with very low range and low damage that finds its use in defeating boss projectiles and makes Seth very good for boss fights. And finally, the Taser Sword. This is a melee weapon that shoots blade waves, does medium damage, and has 12 swings, but can still swing when out of ammo, still dealing damage if you physically connect with an enemy. I think this thing's kinda terrible personally. So Seth is a great DPS based character and is very good at fighting bosses. Sekhmet. This is effectively the noob class in my opinion. This isn't meant in a negative way, and I think it's an important niche to fill in the game. So Sekhmet is and becomes very tanky, but has relatively low damage to compensate. She starts out with 572 base health, 178 attack, 122 move speed, and 53% defense. She has a passive which causes her maximum health to increase by 2 at base level for every room that you enter. This passive is one of the reasons that she's so forgiving to play. Her active is interesting in that it causes all of the visible drops on your screen to turn into small meat drops. This includes ammo, gold, and meat. Note that the normal meat drops provide more health back than the transformed version, so be sure to pick them up first to maximize this if you're on low health. This ability set has brilliant synergy and really helps her make her way through the pyramids. Her weapons are the Ankh, a very low damage infinite ammo weapon with a decent bit of travel time, the dual pistols, medium damage, 12 rounds per mag, hit scan, great weapon overall, and finally the Phoenix, that does high damage clusters of homing, well, phoenixes, with 7 total ammo. Sekhmet's kit and weapons give her a pretty good basis to defeat anything she encounters, but she struggles with the final boss due to the lack of a rapid-firing weapon. Next up is Anuket. Here's one I don't like. Anuket is the deception-based class. She starts out with 575 base health, 255 damage, 102 move speed, and 44% defense. She has a passive which allows her to sprint backwards, which I feel is neither here nor there. I don't too often need to run backwards, I'm mostly moving forward. And her active lets her turn invisible, leaving a log in her previous position that draws enemy fire. Yes, we Naruto all up in here. These stats and ability set make her relatively defensive, and the damage that her decoy log can take before breaking falls off quite fast. Her weapon set, however, is quite good. She has kunai, projectile-based kunai that do high damage and are bottomless, so they don't need to reload. You get 18. The machine gun, 30 rounds per mag, fast fire rate, large bloom, overall a solid weapon, and the gunpowder bomb, a thrown grenade type weapon that deals high damage, explodes on impact, but doesn't have the largest damage radius. Overall, I find her power to be lackluster, and I dislike her low speed, but her weapon set is fantastically balanced and she can easily take on the game's bosses and rooms. Neith is the long-range class of the game. She starts out with 624 base health, 280 damage, 40% crit chance, 280% crit damage, so 10% and 20% higher than the base average, 92 move speed, and 34% defense. She has a passive which allows her to do more damage at long distances. This can let her hit extremely hard, though she pays for it in movement speed. Her active ability sends out a homing falcon to attack the nearest enemy. Her weapon set is similarly set up to let her function well at long range. She has a tranquilizer gun, which does very low damage and freezes enemies, so they can't move for about 8 seconds, and has a 5-round mag. I don't like this one much, as death is the best CC after all. The burst machine gun, with a 30-round mag, this thing shoots 6-round bursts with high recoil and does low to medium damage. If you hit someone with a full burst, it'll do a ton of damage though. She also has the sniper rifle, with high damage, scopes in if you hold the left mouse button, 4 shots per mag. It does what it says on the tin, and is good at killing enemies at long range as you would expect. Overall, Neith is a pretty good character, though she's a bit slow and has a decent weapon set. Next up, we have Hathor. Hathor is the goddess of mining, and as you might expect, she's the farming class. She starts out with 598 base health, 216 damage, 97 move speed, and 29% defense. She has a passive which increases the amount of gold that you gain from each gold pickup, and has an active that allows you to deploy a grappling hook to pull you towards any object. Hathor's weapons are the double-barreled pistol. It shoots 2 projectiles with each trigger pull, and has a 5-round magazine, though you use one of that 5-round magazine every time you shoot, not 2. This weapon has high damage and is overall brilliant. The 4th of July is your second weapon, which is a set of 2 4-barreled firework miniguns. They have a high rate of fire, no spool time, low accuracy, a bottomless mag, and low splash damage. Overall, these things are brilliant as well. Finally, she has sticky grenades, which are what they sound like, high damage sticky grenades. You get 7 of them. Overall, Hathor is amazing for farming, and her weapon set actually makes her a fantastic general class. So don't overlook her as purely a farming class. She can get through pretty much all the pyramids and every boss pretty handily. The penultimate class is Amit. Amit is based on vampirism, and makes her run quite interesting. She starts out with 416 health, 255 damage, 112 move speed, and 37% defense. She has a passive which stops her from gaining health through meat drops, but gives her back health for every enemy killed. Her active ability is 0 cooldown, and allows you to sacrifice your max health in order to increase your passive health gain from enemies. Honestly, I don't think you should use this ability at all until you are deep into the health pool upgrades in the skill tree. And even then, I don't think the trade-off is really worth it. I feel this ability set is just underpowered compared to base meat pickup health gain. Her weapons are the Helsing pistol, a 6-shot medium damage pistol with quite high accuracy, very solid overall, the crossbow, a crossbow that shoots out a shotgun blast of arrows and needs to be reloaded after each shot. This has very high damage at close range and is pretty good. And the Bat's Nest, another homing weapon that releases a cluster of bats to seek out and attack foes. The difference from the Phoenix is that this one can fire much faster. Overall, I think Amit's passive and active are a bit underpowered, but her weapon set is quite solid for getting through a lot of the pyramids. It does, however, struggle with the final boss. Finally, we have Thoth. This class is the king of mobility. He starts out with 520 health, 255 damage, 132 move speed, and 24% defense. This move speed is the highest in the game, and he has a passive which gives him an additional jump. No, I'm not messing with you, he has double jump by default. This also stacks with any additional jumps that you should get. By the way, you should unlock the universal single jump in the skill tree as soon as you can, so that every class but Apis can double jump. Due to this, you can think of him as having a triple jump by default. He's incredibly fast, and these things together let you traverse across and around rooms with ease, though your projectile avoidance may have to be recalibrated a bit as you get used to the speed. His active is a short dash in the direction that you're moving, with a short cooldown. His weapons are the energy gloves. These are basically identical to the Ankh. The energy rifle, a 25-shot projectile-based automatic rifle with low to medium damage. It's solid. And the energy bull, a throwable mine which deploys and rapidly shocks everything in the vicinity for 5 seconds. Note that you have to deploy this onto a surface. It doesn't do any damage if you just throw it into the air, until it hits the ground. You get 8 of these. This thing's pretty useful, and gives you a bit of a playstyle change with leaving traps in the enemy's path. Overall, I love Thoth. He's my favorite class to play due to his insane levels of mobility, and his weapon set is very decent, giving you a solid way to deal with most threats in the game. His mobility also trivializes a decent few challenge rooms. Each class except for Redneck can upgrade their active or passive skill in the skill tree. I'll give you a quick rundown of what they all do and whether or not I think they're worth it. Apis gets longer invincibility, which is decent. Seth deals higher damage with his lightning bubble, and gives it more range, which is amazing. It takes it from doing about 20 damage to 150 damage per hit. It's pretty big. Sekhmet gets more health per room she enters, which is solid. Anuket gets more health on her decoy log. Note that the log will still be killed very fast in the third pyramid because of the higher enemy damage percentages, and I honestly think the decoy log's a bit useless, but that's just me. Neith increases her falcon's damage, which is alright. Amit increases the health stolen per kill, which I still don't think is really worth it compared to base meat drop health gain. And Hathor increases her gold bonus, which is brilliant. Finally, Thoth decreases the cooldown time on his dash, which is alright. Overall, I hope this guide on basic pyramid structure as well as the classes in the game helped you out, and I'd advise you to keep an eye out for the next video in which we'll cover basic game flow, enemy targeting priority, and ideal balanced weapon loadouts that can allow you to easily deal with any of the game's threats, whether they are bosses or normal enemies.